My mother-in-law never liked me, not in the obvious way, not openly hostile, not screaming or dramatic. If anything, she was polite. Too polite. The kind of polite that always had something hidden underneath it. From the beginning, she had a clear idea of what her son's life was supposed to look like. A wife who stayed close to home, a family that revolved around her, a structure where she still had a central role. She always hosted Sunday dinners and attendance wasn't optional, like a mother gathering her chicks. I didn't fit into that picture. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work remotely, I earn well, and I built my career slowly over years. It's not flashy, but it's mine. I'm independent in a way she never really respected. She used to refer to it as your little computer job, even after I was making more than most of her friends' children in traditional careers. At first, I thought it was harmless ignorance, generational stuff, old-fashioned ideas about work, but over time, it became a pattern, little comments at family dinners. It must be nice to work in your pajamas. Do you ever actually meet real clients? I just hope Ryan doesn't end up carrying everything himself forever. Ryan would sometimes hear it, sometimes not. And when he did, she always had a way of softening it afterward, laughing like it was a joke that maybe just landed wrong. So I let it go, because I didn't want to be the problem daughter-in-law. What I didn't realize at the time was that the comments were only the surface. Something else was happening underneath them, something I wouldn't understand for years. My business started slipping in ways I couldn't explain. At first, it was subtle. Clients who had once been enthusiastic stopped replying. Referrals dried up. People who used to praise my work began negotiating aggressively or quietly disappearing after consultations. Nothing catastrophic, just enough to make me feel like I was constantly falling behind. I assumed it was me. I updated my portfolio, rebuilt my website twice, took courses, changed pricing strategies, stayed up late redesigning entire branding packages for clients who never returned. I started questioning everything about myself. Maybe I was getting worse. Maybe I had stopped being good without realizing it. The worst part was that nothing ever fully collapsed. That would have been easier. Instead, it was just steady erosion, like I was slowly becoming invisible. And through all of it, my mother-in-law stayed exactly the same. Friendly at dinners, curious about my little projects. Always asking how things were going in a tone that sounded supportive if you didn't listen too closely. Then came the moment everything cracked open. It started with a throwaway comment from a cousin at a family gathering. We were talking about work, normal small talk. I mentioned I had been busy catching up on client revisions after a few quiet months. And she said, "Oh yeah, Linda mentioned you were really overwhelmed lately. She said she was worried you were taking on too much." I remember laughing at first, because it sounded absurd. My mother-in-law didn't know my workload. She didn't manage my clients. She didn't even really understand what I did. So why would she be telling people I was overwhelmed? The cousin noticed my reaction and got quiet, then added, "Wait, I thought she was talking to you directly about it." She wasn't. Over the next few weeks, I started asking careful questions. Not accusations, just curiosity, and slowly a pattern emerged. Different people, different contexts, same message. She's been struggling with workload. She might be scaling back soon. She's thinking of stepping back professionally. She's been unreliable lately. None of it was direct enough to trace. No one could point to a specific lie. It was all things they had heard. But all of it led back to her. When I told my husband, he didn't believe it at first. Not because he was defending her, but because it didn't make sense. So he started digging, and what he found changed everything. It wasn't a single incident. It was years of quiet conversations, private remarks, concerns shared in passing, always framed as worry, never as accusation, but always pointing in the same direction, that I was unstable in my work, that I was overextended, that I might need to reconsider priorities. And when Ryan finally confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it properly. She just said, "I never lied. I was just honest about what I saw." But what she saw wasn't reality. It was a narrative she had built, one where my independence was temporary, one where eventually I would fail into the role she wanted me in. When Ryan asked her why she did it, she hesitated, then said, "I thought if things slowed down for her, she'd focus more on family." That was the first time I felt something shift permanently, because it wasn't an accident, it wasn't misunderstanding. It was intent disguised as concern, a slow, careful dismantling of someone's confidence. Then life shifted in a completely different direction. I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't planned, but it wasn't unwelcome either. We were happy, cautiously excited, trying to figure everything out. And almost immediately, the family dynamic changed. My mother-in-law reappeared with a completely different tone. Suddenly, she was excited, talking about baby names, nurseries, traditions, being involved, as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't just been exposed for quietly undermining my career for years. Ryan told her firmly that things were not normal between us, that she needed to respect boundaries, that we needed space. That didn't go well. Within days, the pressure started, other relatives messaging us, not aggressively at first, just gently. "She's really excited to be a grandmother. You don't want to deprive the baby of family. She made mistakes, but this is different." Then it shifted. "She's getting older. You might regret shutting her out. Family is forever." But the truth is, the pressure didn't change what had happened. It just tried to make us feel guilty for reacting to it. Ryan finally snapped at one point and said, "You're all talking like she didn't spend years damaging my wife's career and making her doubt herself." That shut most of it down, but not her. She kept trying. Gifts started arriving. Baby clothes, books, notes about being first-time grandparents together. We returned everything unopened. The final conversation came when she asked to meet me alone. I don't know why I agreed. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted her to say something that made it make sense. She didn't. She spent most of the meeting explaining herself. Not apologizing, explaining. How she was worried I worked too much. How she thought I would be happier at home. How she believed she was guiding things in the right direction. And then she said, "I just didn't want you to miss what really matters in life." As if my career wasn't part of that life. As if I needed correction. That was the moment I realized something important. She didn't see me as a person making choices. She saw me as someone who needed to be shaped, corrected, redirected. I left without arguing further, and told my husband I was done, completely done. No relationship, no visits, no access to our child, not as punishment, as distance. Because I couldn't trust someone who believed they had the right to quietly reshape my life without my consent. Our baby is here now, healthy, loved, safe. And she has never met them. The family thinks we're being cruel, that we're denying a grandmother her joy. But what they keep missing is that she already had years of access to our lives, and used it to slowly erode mine. Now she sends messages through relatives, says she just wants a chance to make things right. But I don't think she understands what making things right would even look like. Because it would require acknowledging that what she did wasn't love. It was control. And some things don't get undone just because a baby arrives. They just finally become impossible to ignore.